How you doing, everybody? Vasu Vadaparty here with the VPartySports Podcast. Here with you on a Thursday afternoon on the East Coast. Hope you're doing well. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 12 o'clock here on the West Coast. We've had bad weather here on the West Coast. I know it's relative to the Southeast and the East and the cold you've been experiencing, but we've had high tides come in. The water has been great for California, and hopefully it will continue. But everybody stay safe and drive well. We are here at least 3 times a week. We've got the NFL, NBA, college football, and a little bit of hockey, as well as the national championship on Monday. Don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow at 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific. NFL preview, full Week 18 games, the NBA, NCAA, BCS championship Monday night, the TCU Horned Frogs, and the Georgia Bulldogs. Of course, we'll have our daily posts at 6 Eastern weekdays. We'll have them early on the weekends. And if you're interested in sponsorships, please contact me. We can help your sports bar. We can help your restaurant, whatever the case may be, in terms of some advertising as well. All right, let's get to it. We mentioned the NFL, all the ramifications. The 1 seed is up in the air still in the NFC between Philadelphia, which was once thought it was a lock. Dallas still has a chance to win the East. The 49ers have a chance at the 1 seed. And even the Vikings have a chance at the 1 seed. I think they do. Let me see here. I think they're at 4 losses. I'm not sure that they do. They will not have a chance at the 1 seed because they have 4 losses. But the 49ers have the tiebreakers over both Minnesota and Philadelphia and Dallas, as they've gone on an 9-game winning streak, 12-4. The conference record better than everybody else's. They have Arizona. Anyway, 1 seed, wild card seeding, still for the 7th spot. Big games this weekend: Green Bay, Detroit. Seattle is a big game as well. Those are the 3 games they're looking at in the AFC. The West is all set. The Titans and Jaguars are going to play for the AFC South. That's for the 4th spot. The divisions are all set other than that. And then the last wild card still up in the air between New England, Miami, Pittsburgh as the last 3 spots. So a full breakdown of that on Friday. We may attempt to get a guest to help us break it down as well too. But let's get to the NBA. You see the lines going across the bottom. You got the NBA lines, you got the college lines as well too. Let's start out with the NBA on Wednesday. The Memphis Grizzlies, who are red hot right now, they smashed the Hornets 131-107 behind Ja Morant's big run last night. They got up big. They covered. They were able to go over. Morant had 23, Jaren Jackson 17, Desmond Bane 19, 4 starters in double figures. Xavier Tillman had 10 for Memphis as well. Charlotte was led by LaMelo Ball at 23 points. But 131-107, the Grizzlies over the Hornets. Cavaliers were down big. Game will start off really slow. It was 15-14 after the first quarter, which is not the lowest scoring game of the night. 29 points after the first quarter. The Cavaliers come back and beat the Suns 90-88. 90-88. They were led by Donovan Mitchell, who had his 20 points. Coming off a 71-point game, Caris LeVert had 21. And then for Phoenix, who blew the lead, Chris Paul back in the lineup, 25 points, but Cleveland does not cover. The game stays under. The Magic and the Thunder throttled the Thunder 126-115. Usually, and Oklahoma City was a favorite. When they're an underdog, they figure out a way to cover. They scored 150 points against the Boston Celtics 2 nights ago. But as a favorite, they are not very good. As a dog, they're amazing. They go over 126-115. Paolo Banchero, the number 1 draft pick, he's having a pretty good rookie season, 5 starters in double figures, 25 for Banchero. For Oklahoma City, 33 for SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who did not play against Boston. They scored 150 points, played yesterday, scored 33, and lost to the Orlando Magic. Philadelphia 76ers did not have Joel Embiid last night. They outlast the Indiana Pacers. They do not cover the 5-point spread. They go way over the 233. A 129-126 victory over Indiana. It was 24 for Buddy Hield, 17 off the bench for Josh Smith, and Ben Mathurin. If you haven't seen him from University of Arizona, he's likely the rookie of the year. 19 points for Ben Mathurin. For Philadelphia, with no Joel Embiid, it was James Harden with 26, 19 apiece for Tobias Harris and DeAnthony Melton, who's been really, really good since he's joined the lineup. The Knicks hold off the Spurs 117-114. They do not cover. This game goes over as well, too. Knicks have been playing well this year. Julius Randle, 25, but it was Jalen Brunson, 38 points last night for the New York Knicks, 26 for Keldon Johnson for San Antonio, and 20 off the bench for Josh Richardson, the former Miami Heat. But 117, 114, Knicks now 21 and 18. Spurs drop to 12 and 26. The game of the night, in some cases, it was a bad game to start. We said this was not the lowest scoring game in the first quarter, the Suns and Cavaliers. This was 13-12 Milwaukee after one quarter. Toronto opened the game 0 of 13. They didn't score their first point until after the halfway point of the first period. It was 7-0 until 6:32 in the first. And then finally, Toronto got a free throw, and then they got their field goal. Now, here's the other thing about this. 101, 104, 101 in overtime is the final score. But how they got there, the Bucks nearly blew a 21-point lead with under 4 minutes to go. Scott Van Pelt and Sports Center had it last night. They were 0-21,000. Teams were 0-21,000, trailing by 20 in terms of winning a game. Well, they got a three-point play by Gary Trent Jr. They got a flagrant foul by Grayson Allen. The game ended up being tied at 97 after the three by Gary Trent tied it up with no time left. Antetokounmpo had 21 rebounds, but the Bucks end up winning in overtime thanks to Grayson Allen, who committed the flagrant foul. He got the game-winning three at the end. The Bucks nearly blow a 21-point lead. They cover. They were a 5.5-point underdog. Boy, if you had the under in this game and you saw that overtime and you saw that comeback, you're probably wondering. This game could have gone to a double overtime, which would have really screwed the under bettors, because this game had no chance going over when it was 13-12 after the first period. The game was 39-38 at half. And talk about bad shooting, but it was 38-34 in the fourth quarter that even got it to 97. Grayson Allen, the hero in this game, 104-101. Milwaukee over Toronto. Milwaukee 25-13. Toronto now in the 11th spot, 16-22. How about those Chicago Bulls? You can never figure out what's going on with the Chicago Bulls. They end the Nets' 12-game losing streak, 121-112. Durant had 44 for Brooklyn, but they could not do anything else. Kyrie Irving had 25 points, but that was on 24 shots. And then Seth Curry off the bench had 22, but it wasn't enough. 5 starters in double figures, led by Patrick Williams and DeMar DeRozan, each had 22. Vucevic, very underrated center in the NBA, Nick Vucevic, with the Bulls, 21 points. And then Levine and Dosunmu in for and at the starting guard right now. 13 points and 17 points for Levine and Dosunmu. And Derek Jones had 8 points. He had a couple of good blocks defensively. Kobe White had 10 points. But the Nets let the Bulls shoot 53% on the field and 8 of 20 from three. Nets at 25-13. They're still at second place. Bulls 17-21. We'll hit the standings in a second. Minnesota beats Portland 113-106. Blazers 19-18 right now. Timberwolves at 18-21. They get 32 from Anthony Edwards, of course. Who do you expect to get that? Taurean Prince at 11 and Luka Garza at 14 off the bench. He's starting to round into form here. Lillard had 27 and Jeremy Grant 26. You expect those two guys to start. Minnesota beats Portland 113-106. Pelicans had a big lead. They were up by 25 at one point, but they hold off the 11-point victory. They cover the 7.5 points. They do they stay under the 229.5. So 119-108. No Zion Williamson in the game for New Orleans. They were led by C.J. McCollum and his 28 points. But the Pelicans cover. They stay under 119-108. They are now 24-14 in the West. Rockets at 10-28. Rockets have the Utah Jazz tonight. The Hawks beat the Kings 120-117. They were down by 4 late in the game. They get a couple of free throws late, and then a game winner by DeJounte Murray, 22 for Hunter, 21 for Young and Murray. John Collins also 22 for the Hawks. Hawks now 18-20. Kings, who are playing well, at 20-17. They got a big win at Utah, but couldn't hold off Atlanta, one of the games I had in the Best Bet segment. Really good NBA segment yesterday. We'll get to the Best Bet segment in a second. Kevin Huerter had 24. De'Aaron Fox led 25, and Harrison Barnes 22. Sabonis hurt himself late in the game, but before he got hurt, 20 points, 14 rebounds for the Sacramento forward. All right, the Dogs, let's see here. The Lakers without LeBron James, they beat the Heat 112-109. No LeBron James. Lakers improved to 17-21. Miami, who'd been in LA all week, they beat the Clippers Monday night. They got 27 from Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo, what a year he's having. He should be considered he should be getting some MVP votes. He won't win it, but he should be, the way he's playing, the way he's carrying that team right now, even more than Jimmy Butler. 30 for Bam Adebayo. And then the Lakers, they had 32 from Dennis Schroeder, career high, 21 from Westbrook, off the bench, 21 from Thomas Bryant, and 11 for Austin Reeves. So the Lakers get the victory, 112-109 over Miami. Lakers 8.5-point underdogs. Game stays under the total of 224.5. And then the game of the night, one of the games of the night in the NBA, Warriors made a valiant comeback, tied the game late on a Klay Thompson three with 1 second to go, but Saddiq Bey, a three-pointer to give the Pistons a victory. They were down big, down by 8 after 1, down by 4 at the half, down by 3 after 3, and then in the fourth quarter, evened up, and that's where it ended up. Thompson with the three to tie it after frantically trying to get back. A turnover by Jordan Poole late in the game led to after the Bey turnover. It led to 2 free throws. It made it 119-116. Then Thompson hit the three to tie, and then Bey at the buzzer. Saddiq Bey spoils the moment for the Warriors. So Jordan Poole with the turnover when it was 117-116. They had the ball. He turned it over. Killian Hayes hit the 2 free throws, which put the game over, by the way. Just want to make sure I mentioned that. The Pistons covered the 6.5. The game goes way over the 232.5 that it ended up at, 241. The total. All right. The Dogs carried the night in the NBA, 9-3 for the underdogs last night. The over and under went 5-7. These totals are very high. You can see the totals going across the bottom. They're very high. So even high scoring nights, and these are record times for the NBA in terms of scoring, they're still staying under the total. All right. When we come back in 30 seconds, 5-1 for Vasu VParty, the VPartySports NBA Wednesday, 10-2. 10-1 to start the year, the calendar year for the NBA totals as we get to the middle part of January and as the season starts to wear on a little bit. Football starting to wind down with the playoffs. So from the calendar year, 10-1 in the NBA, a lot different in the NCAA. You'll see that. Daily posts and best bets will be at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All right, we come back in 30 seconds. We'll hit the college basketball scene a little bit. We'll talk about the big conferences, and then we'll say sayonara for this Thursday, and we'll hit the Friday preview tomorrow for the NFL big weekend, as well as the NBA, NCAA as well, too. 30 seconds, Vasu VParty here with the VPartySports Podcast for this Thursday. Welcome back to the VPartySports Podcast. Vasu VParty here with you. You can reach me at VPartySports on Twitter, on Instagram, Vasu VParty on Facebook, and on YouTube as well. We'll be back tomorrow, full NFL preview. Week 18, still some ramifications. The last 2 wildcard spots in each division, in each conference, are still there. The 1 seeds are up for grabs in both the AFC and the NFC. Of course, we had the suspended game from Monday night. No resolution to that between Buffalo and Cincinnati. Will give you a Demar Hamlin update in a second. But tomorrow at 12 o'clock Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern, if you're experiencing bad weather, staying at home, you want to check out the podcast, we'll give you our best bet segment as well, too, with daily posts every day. NFL preview for Week 18, NBA, NCAA basketball. BCS Championship Monday night, TCU, Georgia. Georgia, I think last I checked, 13.5-point favorite in that game. Who do you like in that game as well? We'll hit all the NBA and NHL big college basketball weekend this Saturday as it starts to get to big time right now. So we have sponsorship inquiries as well, too. All right, let's get to college basketball a little bit. We'll just hit this a little bit. In the ACC, Georgia Tech beat Miami 76-70. Miami a favorite there in that game. Georgia Tech with the win. North Carolina State runs Duke out of the building. They started off 20-2. They beat Duke 84-60. Wake Forest, North Carolina 88-79. They do not cover the 10.5 points. Wake Forest with the victory. They are 2-2 in conference play. Clemson with the victory at Virginia Tech. They're 4-0 in conference play, as is Pitt right now. 6-point underdog at Virginia Tech. They get the road win 68-65. Brent Bronwell coaching is you know what off at Clemson. They are off to a great start. So Clemson and Pitt start off 4-0. In the Big Ten last night, Michigan beats Penn State 79-69. A big upset win in Illinois. Northwestern beats Illinois 73-60. The standings in the Big Ten right now: Wisconsin and Michigan, Ohio State, all 3-0. Ohio State has a big game with Purdue tonight, which we'll get to in a second. Big 12, the Iowa State Cyclones get a big road win at Oklahoma, 63-60. They were a 3.5-point underdog. They have played well this year. TCU, the game of the night at Baylor, 88-87 victory at Baylor. Kansas State, who routed Texas early in the week. TCU and Iowa State all starting off conference play at 2-0. The Big East, those Georgetown Hoyas, they're having a tough time. They haven't won a conference game in a year and a half. Villanova beat them 73-57 over Georgetown. Providence gets the victory over UConn. We don't have it up here, but UConn has lost 2 in a row after starting off 13-0, 73-61 last night. Providence over Connecticut. Providence 13-3, UConn 14-2, and then Butler beat DePaul 78-70. Standings in the Big East: Providence 5-0 to start the year. Xavier 4-0, and Marquette, Creighton both 4-1 and 3-1. Connecticut has lost 2 straight conference games, so they're in 5th place right now. They are there with Villanova, who's 2-2, and Butler 2-3 after their win last night. Pac-12 has games tonight. You see them going across. We will have those games for you tomorrow and Saturday for that matchup. SEC, Georgia upsets Auburn 76-64. Auburn is 7-point favorite in that game. The game stays under the total, 76-64. Georgia with the victory over Auburn. Texas A&M upsets Florida. They were a 5.5-point underdog, 66-63 in Gainesville. And Arkansas holds off Missouri, the only home team to win in the SEC on Wednesday night, 74-68. They do not cover the 7.5, as they say. American Conference, Tulane beats Tulsa 93-77. Temple over South Florida 68-64. UCF gave Houston a tough time last weekend. They beat East Carolina on the road 64-61. Mountain West, Nevada Reno beats Colorado State 80-69. In the Missouri Valley Conference, Northern Iowa, Indiana State, who's very good. Missouri State is pretty good. Southern Illinois, Belmont, Murray State, all winners. In the A-10, Richmond, Duquesne, Dayton is very good. Davidson wins over Loyola Chicago. St. Bonaventure, Rhode Island over Fordham, and UMass beats a pretty good St. Louis team as well in the A-10. All right. The NBA lines for tonight: Memphis 6.5, 230 at Orlando. Boston 3 at Dallas, 232. Utah 6.5 at Houston, 232.5. Denver -6 versus the Clippers, 229. Just the overall impressions right now. The NBA, we're looking at the Memphis Grizzlies, who are right there near the top in the West. They're second. They're tied with Denver. Denver has the tiebreaker over them. 6.5 at Orlando. They're 10-10. I'm sorry, they're 9-10 on the road. And Orlando, near the bottom, they're 10-11 at home. They've got Banchero there playing well, 230 the total. Boston, they've had a rough stretch here. They got shellacked by Oklahoma City the other night, 150 points they gave up. Not only did they not cover the 8.5, the game did go over, even without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now they're dealing with a potential MVP in Luka Doncic, who just came off a triple-double of 60, 21, and 11 in their last game. The game that they had before, when did they play before? They played Tuesday night, played Monday, The Mavericks beat the Rockets 111-106 on Monday night. They did not cover that 7.5 spread, and they stayed under. Doncic had 39 in that Monday game as well. All right, then Utah, they got beat by Sacramento 2 nights ago. Houston lost to where are they at? They lost to the Pelicans last night on the road. They come back home. They play better, and they can put points up. Utah struggling right now in the 7th spot, I believe. They're in the 10th spot now, 19-21. Rockets, the worst team in basketball, 10-28. Charlotte right there with them at 10-29. Utah, 6.5-point favorite. And then the Nuggets, who are in the 1 spot right now in the West, a 6-point favorite, 229 the total versus the Clippers. Clippers lost to Miami early in the week. Now they travel to face the 2-time MVP in Nikola Jokic as we get to it. So there you have the NBA lines for this week. Some NCAA lines want to get to in the Big Ten. Rutgers 5 over Maryland. Ohio State 1.5 over the number 1 team Purdue. Houston in the American 20.5 over SMU. And then Pac-12 night, Arizona State 4 over Washington State. Colorado 2.5 over Oregon. Cincinnati in the American is 2 at Wichita State. And then Iowa in the Big Ten 1.5 versus Indiana. By the way, shout out to McCaffrey, Fran McCaffrey's son, Patrick McCaffrey, taking some time away from basketball, mental health issues. He's going to come back better than ever. He's a good kid, great player, and a better person. And so hopefully things go well for him. UCLA 11.5 versus USC tonight in the Battle of LA. UCLA is very good. USC just came off a loss versus Washington State over the weekend last Sunday. That's going to be a big matchup, one I'm looking forward to tonight. Mountain West, Hawaii 6.5 at UC San Diego out of conference. University of San Diego 6-point favorite versus UOP out of conference. And then more Pac-12, Utah 13.5 versus Oregon State. Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference at USF 9.5-point favorites in San Francisco tonight. Loyola Marymount -1 BYU playing Loyola Marymount. And then Arizona, an 18-point favorite over Washington. You want to lay that many points against the Washington Huskies? They can score a little bit. We know Arizona, what they can do. 154.5 the total there. All right. I'm going to give you a best bet segment right now. One pick, but don't forget to check out the rest of them at 6 o'clock Eastern on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Rutgers -5 over Maryland. That's my money right now on Rutgers -5 in terms of best bet segment. We'll get all the rest of them at 6 o'clock Eastern on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Not a good start to the NCAA basketball season. 1-6 Wednesday. What is that to start the year? 4-12. But thanks to the 10-1 in the NBA, overall 19-18 to start 2023. Goal to get 68% or better. Right now, my NBA picks are 10-1, so about 91%. But the NCAA, 25%, 4-12. Yikes! Figure that out as we get going here. More conference play to get to as we get to the latter part of January and going into February. A couple of big updates. The University of Texas has fired Chris Beard. The domestic violence charges that he had, Texas decided to separate themselves from him, and they have decided to let him go. So they will go with their interim coach right now, either until they get a new head coach or they make their interim coach their firm coach. Texas is a good team. They lost the other night to Kansas State. They got run out of the building by Kansas State at home, and clearly this has been a distraction. So maybe the folks in Austin can get their basketball game going again. But Chris Beard fired by the University of Texas. And finally, before we go, I want to give you a Demar Hamlin update. The Buffalo Bills defensive back who was injured, had cardiac arrest, shouldn't say injured, had cardiac arrest on the field Monday night after a routine tackle versus T. Higgins. By the way, for those of you losers out there, and I mean losers out there, it is not T. Higgins' fault. He's playing football. He was going in for a tackle. It was a normal tackle where everybody gets up. And to blame T. Higgins on this, unbelievable. Anyway, besides that, don't get me started on this. Stupid fans. There are stupid fans out there, and there are dumb shits that are out there talking about T. Higgins causing his cardiac arrest. It was a moment that happened in time. It stopped his heart. They were able to save his life, get CPR out there. One of these days, somebody sent me a chart of a list of medical personnel and trainers that are at an NFL stadium every week. I have the photo, and I'm going to post it out there one of these days. There's approximately 50 people there, from ophthalmologists to dentists to doctors to trainers to x-ray technicians that are there at NFL games. So to say that the NFL is not concerned about injuries, yes, that's partially true, but they are doing more to help the players in terms of making sure that they get the proper care that they need for injuries. All right, that rant off the table. The Demar Hamlin update. He is able to communicate. You wouldn't have been able to say that on Monday night. He wasn't even breathing. 100% oxygen was being given to him. He was at 50% the other day, but he's able to communicate by writing messages. Still has the breathing tube in his mouth. He's not able to communicate verbally yet, but he's writing messages. He's still on the ventilator with the breathing tube. Doctors say easing off the breathing tube, easing off breathing help is a process. And his dad, Demar Hamlin's dad, addressed the team via Zoom and gave them the progress updates. They have galvanized. The Bills have galvanized together. Obviously, they didn't finish the game Monday night. Totally secondary to what's happening to their teammate. But it looks like all signs are trending toward a positive direction for Demar Hamlin. Hope he gets better. Don't know about a football career. Don't care about a football career. Let's get him out of the hospital. Let's give props out to University of Cincinnati for all the care that they've had. And remember, the NFL does have medical personnel, doctors, dentists, ophthalmologists, everything that you can think of that they have at NFL stadiums. So they got the care to him right away. Otherwise, we could have seen a tragedy on Monday night in Cincinnati with this tackle. And again, for those of you, please get off T. Higgins. Come on now. This is not his fault. This was a tackle that happened right at that moment, and you could tell something was bad when he passed out after trying to get up again. So good news for Demar Hamlin. Good news for the Buffalo Bills. Week 18 in the NFL coming up this weekend. 2 games Saturday, the Raiders and Chiefs, Titans and Jaguars. Both have meaning. Sunday night game has been flexed with the Packers and the Lions. Seattle's still involved in that for the 7 seed. The 1 seed still up in the air for both the AFC between Buffalo, Kansas City, and Cincinnati as well, too, I guess. We'll have to look at that. They still have to decide what they're going to do with this game. And then in the NFC, Philadelphia, who's lost 2 in a row, the 49ers and the Vikings don't have a shot at the 1 seed, but it's between Philadelphia, the 49ers, and even Dallas has an outside shot at the 1 seed as well, too. All right, we are back with you on Friday, 12 Pacific time, 3 Eastern, the full Week 18 preview. Recap the NBA from Thursday, preview Friday night, NCAA basketball. Major conferences will hit about 9 to 11 conferences during the week in the NCAA. Don't want to overload you with too many NCAA basketball games, but everybody follows the major conferences. And then you've got the BCS championship on Monday night with the TCU Horned Frogs and the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia, a 13.5-point favorite coming in. All right, we'll welcome you back tomorrow at 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can find us there. Don't forget there'll be replays after that right up until kickoff, 6 Eastern for the Daily Post with the Best Bet segment. I gave you one already today. The Rutgers-Maryland game, it'll be Rutgers -5. The rest of the Best Bet segment coming up 6 Eastern on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All right, that'll do it for us. I am Vasu Vadaparty. You can reach me at VPartySports, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, Vasu Vadaparty. Have a great Thursday. Stay dry. Enjoy the games today. Good luck. We'll get our record up as we get going here. 4-12 in the NCAA. Not good, but 10-1 in the NBA. Best Bet segment at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We will see you tomorrow, noon Pacific time, 3 Eastern, for the V-Party Sports Podcast. I'm Vasu Vadaparty. Have a great day. Good luck with your games, and we will see you later. Take care.